So let's jump into the market outlook just so that you can see, today was a rough day in the markets. S&P 500 down almost 6%, Toronto Stock Exchange down about 4%. Not hugely surprised here. I've been kind of waiting for this. Leading up to this, the last 2 weeks have been just a little bit ridiculous in the stock market. If we look at this all country world index over the last 6 months, right, we can see before the crash and then the crash. And then if you remember when I was on a couple weeks ago, I was talking about like a slow sort of like, escalator, like a treadmill going upwards, right? And then all of a sudden it just popped. And really from May 22nd, up until June 8th, it just popped. So really what we've seen is in the last couple days, it's sort of fallen back down a little bit, including down over 5% today. But I'm actually kind of happy to see that. I really felt like in this run-up that there was something just sort of unsustainable about it, that it just couldn't continue. My best guess is that there are two reasons why it went up. The first big one is so much support from the Federal Reserve, from federal governments, the US government, the Canadian government, the Federal Reserve in the US, the Bank of Canada here in Canada, with so much support. I think investors just sort of like, basically said there was no risk. That if there is another market crash, if things get hurt, then it's not a big deal because really the government and the Fed is going to step in to protect us. So it's almost as if people were investing with kind of reckless abandon. And we saw some also really funny movements in specific stocks. So the other thing that's happened, and this is a bit of a theory, so I don't have data to back this up, but I've started to see a really funny trend where people who normally bet on sports, because there are no sports right now due to COVID, have actually started betting in the stock market. Have kind of turned from sports betting to now betting on stocks. And we're riding things up. We saw some really funny behavior. Hertz Rent-A-Car is something that stuck out. This is a company that filed for bankruptcy. So if we look at it, this was in February. We knew it was going to be hit pretty hard. We can see a Hertz bankruptcy just to see when the announcement was. And that, I think it was a little while ago. And then this question, this kind of speaks that Hertz is bankrupt. Why is everyone buying its stock? That for whatever reason, we saw it like spike up to go from like 85 cents up to like $5, right? And then again, back down. Now it's kind of coming back down to a value where it should be. We saw the same thing. Tesla is something that a lot of day traders love to trade. And so when we look at this, I'll just show you over the last month, and you can just see it's just been up and then up and then up. Now it's coming back down a little bit, but really when we look at Tesla shares, like I remember back in February, we thought it was overpriced. Like how could it be worth that much, right? And then now we're right back up there. And this is something that a lot of the day traders do really love. So I'm just kind of seeing this funny trend. If anyone is on Reddit, there's this thing called Reddit Wall Street Bets, SWSB. This is like Wall Street Bets, which is a subreddit where, I've just seen a lot of like, basically like day traders. It's a very, very strange thing, but someone will put a company that they think is going to do well in this thread, and then more and more people are just going to buy it, and we're just going to see it shoot up. It's very common with smaller companies. There was this one called Genius Brands, which does like kids programming, and it's like a penny stock. Like it was 25 cents, all this, and then all of a sudden here, 58 cents, and then look at this. It just spiked up to almost $8. Like this makes no sense, and this was because people were posting about it on Reddit. So there's a really funny psychology when it comes to sports gambling. If I bet money on, let's say, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I want the Toronto Maple Leafs to win, then if a lot of people bet on the Toronto Maple Leafs, that doesn't actually increase their odds of winning, right? The game is still going to be whatever the game is. But when it comes to stocks, especially penny stocks, if enough people think that this Genius Brands International is going to win, people can absolutely drive up the price of the shares. It gets to a level where really, and oh my goodness, the people who bought in at these high prices, I feel so bad for them because they just watched their money evaporate. So, this is my way of saying be very, very cautious, especially with individual companies. There's a lot of these like hot tips and a lot of this sort of like, almost like gambling going on. And so really my impression is that, those two things, this sort of, I would say, hubris that the government is just going to step in and the Federal Reserve is just going to bail us out no matter what, has really led to this run-up. And that in the last couple days, and especially today, with things being down so heavily, is really just sort of the market, coming back to earth a little bit, being a little bit more rational. My guess is that it's still trading at slightly above where I think it should be. I feel like in sort of this range where it was about a month ago, that's probably an appropriate level. So we'll see. Obviously, there's so much we don't know about a second wave. There's so much we don't know about, the U.S. Election that's happening in November, that in my mind, for it to be back to close to where it was like at the start of the year, with all the risk that's in the market, just, we thought it was overpriced back in January and February. For it to be up near those prices today with all the risk that we have is a little bit ridiculous. So, not surprised to see it come back to earth and to see a little fall. I think there might be a little more fall, but hey, who knows? I think it's still, another couple months before the NBA and the NHL are going to do their playoffs. I want sports to come back, not so much for my entertainment, but so that all the gamblers can just go back to sports betting and can get out of the stock market. So, always fun to be able to look at things like the VIX. So I do like looking at this volatility index. You can see it was nice and calm for quite a while, and then it's just spiked back up in the last couple days. Again, I think there's just a bit of a funny little, thing happening in the market right now. So you can see that's reflected in the VIX. Always also nice. I do tend to look at the price of oil. I like showing you that. Just to be able to see what oil prices are, that has such a huge impact on the Canadian economy. You can see this is West Texas Intermediate, which is the sort of light sweet crude. You can see it's really come back up, about $36 a barrel right now. And then if we look at the in Alberta at about $27 a barrel. So really, what we saw here when things were really in the depths, we are starting to see prices come back up. That it really does look like that was sort of a short-lived phenomenon of oil prices being so low that now things are a little bit back. So that's where I think where we're at. Of course, people are always going to ask, is now a good time to invest? I would say, well, with markets down as much as they were today, certainly, tomorrow's going to be a better day to invest than yesterday was. But I do think we might see a little further pullback. Don't have the crystal ball, but I would say that things are still very, very optimistic in the market. And I think all it'll take is a little bit of bad news to be able to send it tumbling down a little bit further. And, there is some progress on vaccines and on the health sides, and we are starting to reopen the economy. So, hopefully those things go in a manner that is safe, where people are able to get back to work and to live their life. But also at the same time, I think that things are fundamentally changing and have changed in ways that we don't totally understand yet. And I don't know if the market fully appreciates that. There's one ETF, JETS, which is airlines. And again, you can see, obviously has been hit really hard. Of course, it's airlines. And you can just see that, at the end of May, it just kind of jumped back up. I think there was this optimism that like, yay, the economy's opening, things are back to normal. Of course, airplanes will be fine, airlines will be fine. We're going back to normal. And then now, just in the last few days, it's like, actually, COVID is still a thing. There could be a second wave. There is a lot of risk in the market. Let's not get ridiculous in terms of the assumption that the market's going back to normal. So if there are any questions, if you want to know sort of where we're at right now, anything I want to talk about that I talked about that you want me to dive deeper on, know that I'm happy to do that. Just throw it in the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, know that you can always throw your questions into the comment section. I'll do my best to get them, to answer them and just reply to you in the comment section, or I can always address it next week as well.